Welcome in, everyone. Or I should say, welcome to you, the learner, because if you're tuning into this deep dive, I know you love those like massive aha moments.
Oh, totally. The paradigm shifts.
Right. The moments where you get to explore totally diverse perspectives without, feeling completely overwhelmed by academic jargon. And today's topic is, well, it's basically custom tailored for you.
It really is. We're looking at something that honestly forces you to throw out your baseline assumptions.
Exactly. So our mission today is to explore this really fascinating, honestly kind of unconventional framework for understanding ancient scriptures and texts.
Yeah, and we're talking about a wide variety of sources here.
Right, from the biblical books of Isaiah and Timothy to Eastern traditions like the Diamond Sutra and the Tao Te Ching.
Which are usually treated as, separate moral philosophies.
Exactly. But according to the source material we're looking at today, these texts are not just moral guidelines. They aren't historical accounts either. They are entirely, 100% composed of hidden prophecies waiting to be decoded.
It's a huge claim. The argument is that they all point to one unified truth, which is that the true nature of the heavenly way, or Tiandao, is prophecy itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if these books have been around for thousands of years, sitting on bedside tables and, studied by billions of people, why hasn't everyone figured out the prophecies yet? Why isn't this obvious?
Well, that leads right into the fundamental difference between simply looking at words and actually reading them. What's fascinating here is how the source breaks down this concept of reading.
Yeah, let's get into that.
So the text argues that just reciting syllables, like, vibrating your vocal cords and making sounds, that isn't actually reading.
It's just making noise.
Exactly. It's acoustic noise.
That makes me think of the analogy the source uses. Just reading the words of a textbook out loud isn't going to magically get you admitted to a top university, like National Taiwan University.
Right. You can't just sound it out and expect a degree.
Yeah, because there's no comprehension. And I love the linguistic breakdown they do with the Chinese character for read. It's pronounced Nanian, right?
Yes, Nanian. And visually, it's so interesting. The character is actually two separate elements stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
The top part is yin, which means sound, and it sits over the bottom part, which is qin, meaning the heart or the mind.
So it's literally sound over mind.
Precisely. The argument is that without the mind fully engaging to understand the true meaning, the yin, then making the sound is literally just generating noise you aren't reading.
Wow. Okay, but let me push back a little here because the source brings up a really interesting paradox from the book of Isaiah.
Oh, Isaiah 29.1, right.
Yeah, where it talks about a highly literate, educated person who is handed a text and they literally say, I can't read it.
Right.
If a literate person looks at a book in their own language, why would they claim they can't read it?
Well, it's because they recognize the symbols, but they lack the cipher.
Like advanced engineering mathematics.
Exactly.
I mean, you can look at a whiteboard full of complex equations and, you recognize a number 3, you recognize an X or an equal sign.
Sure, the individual components.
But put them all together and the meaning is completely locked. I can say 3x out loud, but I'm not reading the equation because I have no idea what it actually means.
Right. The synthesized meaning is completely inaccessible to you.
Which brings up a massive question. If the prophetic meaning of these ancient texts is locked like that, who locked it and how do we open it?
Well, the sources claim that these scriptures are intentionally sealed by the divine. It's called the divine seal.
The divine seal.
Yeah. The idea is that from the very beginning of creation, these texts have been deliberately hidden as riddles. It's not bad translation. It's by design.
So what does this all mean for us? Because usually society tells us that if we don't understand a religious text, say the Diamond Sutra, it's our fault.
Oh, completely.
People say oh, you just lack spiritual enlightenment or woo, or they tell you to copy the text 100 times by hand.
Or to go suffer on a mountain somewhere like an ascetic.
Exactly. It's all about human effort. But this framework totally debunks that, right?
It does. It completely dismantles this human-centric view.
Mm-hmm.
The source uses the example of someone brilliant like Albert Einstein.
Right.
Einstein had incredible intellect, but even he couldn't figure out these scriptures just by thinking really hard about them.
Because it's not a human puzzle.
Exactly. Human intellect or, having tons of worldly experience or even physical suffering, it's all useless if a text is divinely sealed.
Wait, why is human intellect useless? Just because it's from God?
Well, the source points out that God's hints are infinitely harder to guess than human hints. Like, if a human designs an escape room, Another human can logic their way out of it.
Because they share the same human brain structure.
Right. But if a human could simply guess God's riddles through sheer brain power, then logically that human would be equal to God.
Oh, wow. That puts the ego in check real fast.
It really does.
But okay, if sheer brain power or copying texts until your hand cramps won't break the seal, then what actually does?
Well, that requires a radical reinterpretation of where and, more importantly, when the divine can be found.
Yeah, and this is a highly provocative claim in the text. It challenges this really common idea of omnipresence, the idea that God is just everywhere, all the time, waiting to explain things to you.
Right. People assume the divine is just constantly on standby.
But the source uses this office boss analogy, which I think is just brilliant.
It's very practical.
Yeah, like think about it. If you want to talk to your boss, you have to go to the office when the boss is actually there.
Exactly.
Just because the physical office exists doesn't mean the boss is sitting at the desk 24/7.
Right. And the text builds on this using Isaiah 55.6, which says, "Seek him while he may be found."
While he may be found, that implies
That there are times when he cannot be found.
Wow.
Yeah. Therefore, the word, or the Tao, has a specific appointed time when it can be understood.
So it's literally on a time lock.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the unsealing only happens when the divine is actively present to explain it.
Not a minute before.
Nope. Psalm 119.130 says the unfolding of the words gives light to the simple or the foolish.
I love that.
Yeah, it means you don't need high intelligence, you don't need a PhD in ancient languages, you just need the text to be unsealed for you.
Okay, but that leads to the million-dollar question. When exactly is this boss in the office? When does the time lock hit zero and the seal breaks?
Well, the text points to a very specific singular moment in human history.
Here's where it gets really interesting, the timeline.
Right. The text remains sealed until the end times, or Moshi.
Moshi. Okay. And the historical evidence for the seal holding up over thousands of years is wild.
It's incredibly consistent across the text.
Even the greatest figures, the ones who actually wrote the books, couldn't break the seal early, right?
No, they couldn't. Look at the book of Daniel in the Hebrew Bible. Daniel receives these massive apocalyptic visions, but chapters 12.4 and 12.8 explicitly say the words are sealed until the time of the end.
So he wrote it down but didn't even understand it.
Daniel himself admits he didn't get it. He was just the messenger holding a locked box.
That's crazy. And then centuries later, you have the Pharisees.
Right. These were guys who literally dedicated their entire lives to studying the scriptures. They painstakingly memorized every word.
But they still totally missed recognizing Jesus when he arrived.
Because the specific prophecies about his arrival were still sealed. They were looking at the words, but they weren't reading them.
Even Jesus' own inner circle didn't have full clearance, right?
Nope. In John 16, Jesus tells his disciples he has way more to say, but they cannot bear it now.
Wow.
And the Apostle Paul, who wrote so much of the New Testament, he freely admitted his knowledge was only partial and limited.
He said he was seeing through a glass, darkly.
Exactly. Everyone was waiting for the Moshi, the end times.
So if that's true, it creates a massive ultimate test for today. Like if someone comes up to you today, whether they're a guru, a pastor, a podcaster, and they claim they fully understand these ancient scriptures,
Yeah.
the source material says you shouldn't just smile and nod, you should demand proof.
You absolutely have to test them.
And the test is wild. It brings up the book of Revelation, specifically Revelation 5, with the scroll that has 7 seals, and Revelation 12, which talks about this woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars.
Right. These are some of the most cryptic images in history.
So how do you use that to test someone?
Well, you ask them for specifics. You ask, what exactly are these 7 seals? Like, physically, are they made of wood? Are they stone? The text says only the lion of the tribe of Judah can open them. So you ask the teacher, who is this lion? Is it an actual biological lion from the African savannah? Is it in a zoo somewhere?
And if they give you some vague, metaphorical answer?
If they say, oh, the lion just represents inner strength, or the woman is just the goodness and humanity.
They fail.
Completely. They are just making noise. The text remains sealed to them.
Because prophecy has to map to specific, real things.
Exactly. And it's not just biblical texts either. The source argues that ancient Chinese myths operate exactly the same way.
Oh, right, like the stories of Pangu or Hui or Nua.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up thinking those were just fairy tales, like Pangu physically splitting heaven and earth with an axe, or Hui shooting down extra suns out of the sky.
Or Nua melting 5 colored stones to patch a hole in the sky.
Right. But the framework says these aren't literal events from the past, and they aren't just, campfire stories.
They are riddles, intricately encrypted prophecies with highly specific hidden reference.
So if a teacher can't explain exactly what patching the sky with melted stone literally refers to in the real world,
Then they don't have the key. If they can't explicitly decode these riddles and prove it is currently the end times, the vault is still closed.
that is an incredibly intense standard of proof. It really leaves no room for guessing.
Not at all.
Man, we have covered so much ground today. Let me just quickly summarize this journey for the learner.
Go for it.
We started by completely redefining what it means to actually read, moving from just making acoustic noise to real comprehension.
Right. The sound and the mind.
Exactly. Then we discovered that these ancient texts are actually divinely encrypted prophecies, completely immune to human intellect or, copying pages until your hands bleed.
Human effort just doesn't work.
Right. And finally, we learned that these texts are allegedly time-locked until a very specific era, the end times, the Moshi. And until that time, the greatest minds in history have basically been staring at a locked vault.
It's a lot to process, I know. But I want to leave the learner with one final thought to ponder, building on everything we just discussed.
Ooh, I love a good final thought. What is it?
Well, if the greatest texts in human history are actually encrypted riddles, designed to sit quietly in plain sight for millennia until a specific moment in time, it makes you wonder.
Wonder what?
What other sealed truths in our everyday reality are we currently staring at? What physical everyday things are we completely blind to simply because the time hasn't come to understand their real meaning yet?
Oh, wow. Just walking past open doors every day without even knowing it.
Exactly.
That is going to keep me up at night. Well, thank you to the learner for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, and we'll catch you on the next one.